Yeah, I'll start out my Air Force pictures with my first leave out at from Parks Air Force Base in California, and was there 5 weeks before we got the weekend pass to go into San Francisco. So here I'm on a little tour of the Frisco Bay out there, and you can see I don't have no stripes yet. We got 3 weekends off while I was out there. This is that Alcatraz prison out there. It was still occupied until this. I was out there in '52 when they didn't close Alcatraz down until '63. So there were full of prisoners there. Well, we made around. They sent the ship around all four sides of it. Up there in the upper right is where all the cells are. This is just some ships that were out there in the bay. And that's Alcatraz way in the background back there. That's San Francisco back there in the background. That's the Golden Gate Bridge coming up. And that's a nice view there with all the sailboats on it. And now we're up closer to it and you can see how huge the big old piers. I think they go up 750 feet, it says on the back of the picture. This is a different bridge. It's the Oakland Bay Bridge, and it's the one that was in that earthquake out there in Frisco a few years ago, and it showed where one section dropped down and the top section dropped down to the bottom section. It's a two-decker bridge. This is another part of it. It's got 6 lanes of traffic on top and 3 lanes on the bottom with 2 different streetcar tracks running across it. The reason why I know all this, I got it wrote on the back of the pictures, or I would have forgot it. Just more of the sailboats. And that's the west end of the Golden Gate. Yeah, this is along where Fisherman's Wharf is there in Frisco. Just more shoreline along the coast there. The big old city Frisco was, but I can't imagine what it must look like now. Probably all that stuff has been tore down and all replaced. These are just some docks or wharfs, they call them, where the ships pull up alongside and load and unload. This is when I got to Bergstrom down at Austin, Texas. This is just after you get through the main gate there where the guards are. This is the start of the air base. You can see the barracks way back in the background there. This shows more what barracks look like than when I got there the first year. The sides are all just tar paper, and they're all open. Full length is just one open. They're about 60 foot long, and just rows of bunks up each side, and wood floors, and just old temporary barracks. They had black tar paper. You can see the strips where the tar paper is nailed on over here on the right. That was taken there at Bergstrom. That'd been in '53. That's the barracks are in the background, and that's me on the motorcycle there, and on mine, and some other ones around there. This is a kid that had a motorcycle there, and I rode around with him a lot. And he called up here less than a year ago, and was going to come up, and he lives down in Houston, Texas, but I haven't seen anything of him yet. This is a kid I run around with a lot. He had that little Ford coupe there, and we go out on Sundays and take pictures and around the countryside there. This is the old '74. I brought it after I went over to Germany. I shipped it home, and then after I got out of service, I took this picture of it. Boxed it up in a crate where the new ones come in down there. They have a crate, so I crated it up and right down at the train station, and they scooted it on a railroad car, and about a month later it came home. It came home the same time I was on leave to go overseas, and we took the old truck into depot in here at Mustine and picked it up, and brought her home in the old truck, the old K5. Just a couple other guys in the squadron that I worked with. That's Floyd Jones. He's from down in Kansas City. He's the one that's got that little Ford coupe that we went around in. Just another guy I worked with. There, you can see them old barracks back here in the background. That's the tar paper ones there. This old Charles Schulter. He's the one that me and him, he's on my motorcycle there, but we went out to California together. He rented another one from a Jerry King, and we both rode out there to the Mojave Desert, on out to LA, ended up there at Edwards Air Force Base to go to school. Just some more of the guys there at the old barracks. That's my bike there. Got it painted a different color. Guys down at the paint shop down by the hangar, all we did is take the fenders off in a gas tank, and they painted it for me. I think it's black there. I had it painted twice, just for something different. There, I got it all cleaned up. I even got a white sidewall tire on the front, and it looked pretty sharp. That's just some of the guys around the barracks there. That's my bike there when it was blue. You know, they're all ready to go somewhere. We all wore those Harley caps back then. I don't see them around anymore. That was a go back, and we belonged to the motorcycle club there on the base. There was probably 25 of us, and we'd go out riding on the weekends together, and the more that was around with it, the more fun it was. I got more of these pictures than I thought I had of the motorcycle. Kept the windshield on quite a while. Rode out to California with it on there. There's just some more of the old bikes around there. And that's my bike, the closest one here. Just another view of from the main gate looking in towards the base. There at Bergstrom. This is a pretty good view of them barracks. The new ones, they're just a year old. And this is Chow Hall down here closer. And well, one thing they did when they built those barracks is they never poured any sidewalks. And after they found out where everybody was going to walk to the Chow Hall or to work or whatever, and everybody made their path, why, then they went in and poured the sidewalks where everybody wanted to go. And I always thought that was a pretty good idea to find out where the guys actually wanted to walk. And we got sent out to Edwards Air Force Base, and I think it was $170 or something we got for travel pay. So we took our bikes out. That's at Charles Shoulder from Allentown, Pennsylvania. We were out there on the desert now, and you can see our got duffel bags on them and all loaded down. Then on the way home, I had a blowout down to Las Vegas, about 50 mile out, and so we took the tire off out there in the desert and loaded on the back end of his bike, and I got on behind him and we rode into Vegas and got a tire and came back out and put it on. We rode right down the main old drag of Vegas back then, but it wasn't much there in that would be in '53. But it was lit up. We thought it was really a big old place then. We spent our nights. We slept right out on the desert. We had a blanket in there. But the old ground got pretty hard before the night was over. I don't know. We didn't worry about snakes or scorpions. I wouldn't do it now. Went down to Galveston. Well, I was down there 2-3 times, I guess. But you can see this is just a road along the coast, and you can see the Gulf water off there to the right. And the ground is real flat. It just goes for forever. Just old sawgrass and big old coarse stuff. But that floods a lot of times with storms and with all that salt water. And I guess that's the only kind of stuff that will survive. These are the old southern Brahma cattle that eat that old grass and stuff down there along the Gulf. They're really odd looking old bunch of cattle. This is just a picture of Galveston down there I was out on a sea wharf, or a boardwalk, they fish off of, and kind of took it back towards shore. This is just a little snapshot of East Texas where we was coming back from Galveston. It just seemed like a lot of guys would sit on my bike and want their pictures taken. And I sure got a lot of bike pictures. I never knew I had that many. This is out at Mojave Desert out there, and that X back there, that's the base. Can't hardly, it's way back there. we wasn't able to take any pictures on the flight line down there. He was pretty careful with cameras. Everything was experimental there. This is more of the Mojave Desert. We used to ride our bikes around out there. There's a few jackrabbits and stuff you can kick up. That's more of the Mojave. Down here at the bottom is an X, and right there at the left of that X is my motorcycle. I worked on F-84Gs out down in Bergstrom, and that was a straight wing fighter. Then they come out with the F-84F, and that had a swept back wings, and they sent me out to Edwards to I was out there 6 weeks to learn the maintenance on the new plane. But they had all kinds of rocket planes that they were sending out into outer space, and all kinds of fast rocket planes. And you can see them, they'd land out on the salt flats. That could be a salt flat way back there in the back end. You see a real light tan streak across there. One time one came in and landed with his brakes on. They had power brakes. It was just something new on them F-84Fs, and he had some pressure on them, and when he lit, he lit with his brakes on, and it just ground them wheels clear down to the wheel bearings. And they sent us out. We had to jack up the plane and put different wheels on it and tow it back to the hangar. On the way back, we went to Grand Canyon and went across the Hoover Dam. They give us plenty of time to get home, to get back to the base. Just more Grand Canyon. Every weekend when we was at Mojave, we got to go into Los Angeles, and we'd ride around and went by the Rose Bowl and seen a bunch of big old place out there. And this is looking upstream, up above the Hoover Dam, and the big reservoir up there. And this is up on top of we got a road right on top of the dam, and this is up on top, looking down at the bottom down there. I got an arrow pointing down there at the bottom. That's where heavy trucks and stuff all go in and out around that dam and up underneath them rocks. And now we're back at the Grand Canyon again. It's that Hoover Dam, and that's in big old water intakes where water goes on down in the generators. You can see the top of the road there running around. And this is the kid that rode the other motorcycle. After I was there at Bergstrom for almost about 2 years, thing come in where I could volunteer to go to Germany, so I went over to Bitburg Air Base and had 16 months left. And I'd worked on F-84s over at Bergstrom, and here these are F-86Fs here. That's along our flight line there at Bitburg. Yeah, here I'm filling out some forms on the wing there. Everything you do, you got to sign for, and put your initials behind everything, and they got you. So if you mess up, why, they know who did it. These are sheep that they let out there on out on the flight line and around the runway. Let them eat the grass. And I never noticed that much about it, but they must have a way of knowing when there was going to be a plane landing and when there wasn't, because they wouldn't dare have them out on the runway. That's just a rear view of the engine out of the F-86. We pulled them out we'd get a plane in. I worked on periodic maintenance, and every 3 days we'd get a plane in, and we'd have 3 days to pull the engine and do the inspection, grease the wheel bearings, and change whatever needed fixing. And sometimes it'd take us longer than 3 days. That's the aft section of the plane, and the tailpipes laying inside there. That hooked onto the back end of that engine. Just got a bunch of wires to quick disconnect fittings to 4 big bolts and disconnect the electrical wiring, and some hydraulic hoses, and you could have it off of there in just a few minutes. That's the control tower there at Bitburg. Underneath there was a coffee shop. We used to go down there and we'd grab a tug and little one you pull airplanes with, and sneak down there and get our coffee and donut and get back to the hangar again. We also had a little wagon, a little food truck that come around middle of the morning, middle of the afternoon, and you can get a coffee and donut from them. We always had, after we worked on them in the hangar, we always had to take them outside and start them up and run them and make sure everything was working right on them before they went back to the squadrons where they was from. There were 3 squadrons on the base. Each squadron had 25 planes, and each squadron had their own hangar. And up in the front there you can see the openings for the machine guns, 50 caliber machine guns, 3 on each side. Down there right by my hand is ammunition boxes where they go in. We'd take them outside there and you'd have to tie them down and put blocks, and plus we had regular ties that you could hook in. Otherwise, that thing could get away from you. Yeah, there's a better view of the engine sitting on the dollies there, with the front end here with the little pointed snout on it. Then it goes to the compressor, to the combustion chambers there in the back, and one's onto the turbine. Here's one here we're working on. If you have any landing gear trouble, you got to put it on 3 jacks and jack it up, and then you can work the landing gear on the ground there, and cycle it through and find out where the problem is, and get everything working. After we finished inspections on them, they went back to the regular squadron that takes care of them, and they were just parked all around in among the trees, and they had little circular pads that jutting around all here and there so that they wouldn't be all in a straight line if they was ever attacked. Why, they'd be scattered around enough to where they couldn't get at all of them at once. There was a lot of woods around the air base there. Things were pretty hot over there. That with the old Russians, they really, you hear a lot of the Cold War talk over there. Those are some out in front of our hangar where we worked. This is one of them where an engine blew up while it was on the ground and got on fire, and then the fire trucks got all that foam around on it. That's what was left with the, got the aft section off of it, and it pretty well was damaged. This is one where a guy got sucked into the intake. You had to be real careful when you walk around them things, and always had a shield over the front. But he got sucked in there, but it didn't kill him. But he got some broken bones and ribs and stuff. But it bent that front end. They always told us that if you ever get sucked into intake and you have a puncture, that just a very short time that pulling, the pressure of pulling the suction will just pull the blood right out of a person. I never heard of any of them doing it, but that's one. This kid here that got hit, he must have. It didn't have that effect on him. When you run up the plane outside, there's a static. It just looks like a tornado will come out of the front of the intake and go right on down to the ground, and it just kind of dances around like a tornado does. It's a terrific volume of air going in, and you can just see the thing going. This is C-119, what's called Flying Boxcar. And that's the kind I rode in. We went to Africa, and then I went to Norway in one of them. Then we'd haul freight down, tools and stuff. This is a seaplane that just happened to land there. It's a long ways from water out there in Germany. I don't know what he was doing there. He was there on weekends. A couple kids in the squadron had cars, and we'd go out riding with them on Sunday. And this here is a picture of a horse pulling a plow. It's a one-way plow. The one bottom would be up in the air, and the other one would be plowing. And if you come back the same way, why, it would plow both directions. That's just around the base over there. This is in Bernkastel, Germany. Just a little street scene, shows how narrow the streets are, and little narrow sidewalks. This is one of those bunkers that old Hitler had. On a lot of them little roads over there had hairpin turns on them, and he would always build them bunkers. I got better pictures of them, but he'd always build them at the end of the back a few hundred feet from the hairpin curve part, and then he could line up and shoot both directions as he was coming and going on the little blacktop roads over there. And they, after the war, they went and exploded them all and blew them up. They were all there. You could go inside. We went inside them, but they wouldn't be fit for reusing again. That's why they did it. But now you've seen a few pictures with rubber bands on them, but the pictures were curled, and it was so hard to find a way to hold them flat. So you just kind of got to go with that. This is in Luxembourg. I was only like 15 miles from Luxembourg in Belgium, and I was about 15 or 20 miles north of Trier, Germany. And we'd hit Luxembourg pretty often. That's just a cemetery. I had that thing turned on all that time. This was just a little tractor that sat along the road, and we drove along there and stopped, and I climbed on and noticed that little wooden wheel wagon behind it. When I was there, they had a lot of horses pulling wagons, and even, I think I've got a picture of an oxen cart going into the town of Bitburg. And they were really a long ways back. That was on a bridge here in Luxembourg, in the town. That's one of the German fire trucks right there in the town of Bitburg. They were in a hurry. That was just a church in Bitburg there. Over in Europe, they have a lot of these shrines along the highway, or not highways, they're just little roads. And there'll be crosses, little stone bases with a cross on it and a statue, and it's real common over there. Every few miles to run onto something like that. These are just some of the guys that we go out on a Saturday or Sunday and take pictures and ride around the countryside, and we'd all pile in the car and go. This is just a little street scene going through a little town where cafe, out in front of the cafe, they all have the tables outside, and under each umbrella there's a table, and they all sit out there, and that's their custom over there. This is a big stone bridge over there in Luxembourg. You can see the big arch here where that thing holds up. And this is at the Roman ruins there in Trier. I got better pictures on the color slides that I will get on there. And while I was there at Bitburg, they had gunnery practice down in Libya, down in North Africa. So we went on down and do the maintenance on the planes when they needed it there. So this is that's our barracks there. Them tents is where we slept in, and this was during June and July. It was talk about being hot. It was hot, and so that was our living quarters there on base. Yeah, this first building right here, that's our chow hall. That's where we go in there and have our meals. Everything was just sand blowed all around everywhere. And if you need a drink of water, that was our water fountain there, hanging there underneath that little bit of shade there, and there you can see our planes in behind. We did all the work right out there in the sun. It was well over 100. And the water wasn't very cool either when you went to get a drink. Yeah, one Sunday they signed up where they took an old 6x6 army truck, and we all got in the back end of it and went out into the desert to the Roman ruins out there. We were just here. This picture, I'm in the back end of the old truck. This is where old Gaddafi, his old place now. Yeah, this is old camels and donkeys, and they just, everything they did, they hauled with them little donkeys. And another old camel back there, except the guy got his head in the way there. Just some old Arabs or gooks or whatever you want to call them there. They were giving us a look over as we went by. This is just some huts that they lived in. This is out several miles from Tripoli. And right in Tripoli, all the houses were all little mud adobe, little flat topped ones, and out in the country they were made out of straw and hay. There you can see cactus along the road there, the road ditch. There's some of them adobe buildings there. They're just all made out of mud. They're pretty modern. At least they got an old car. That's just some of the old natives walking there. That's the garb they wear. Now we got out there to the Roman ruins. The big part back there, that's still standing part there. But this front down here is just thousands of them big stone blocks that they've moved in. I don't know where they would have came from. Cause we're out there right out on the desert there now. On the road getting out here, they grade sand off the road just like they do snow here. They just use a regular road grader, and it drifts up, and some places you don't see the blacktop, but you just drive on top of the sand over the road. This is some more of the ruins. And they told us that this here is right here in front is their bathroom. We always had the old round holes there in the old privy where they just had them places there in the stone. They set on there. Just more big old stone blocks. They got a little track running down through there that they're starting to rebuild some of the ruins. And they haul the stones and stuff on that now. Just a big old headless statue. I didn't get any pictures of the regular amphitheater with this black and white film, but this was down at the base under the stage in the amphitheater, and you can see all the statue work that they've carved. And I don't know why this big old Roman ruins is clear out there on the desert, but how they ever decided to go to a place like that, I wouldn't know. It's just out in among some more ruins. They're redoing a lot of the ruins, and here's a new lawn and statues around the outside. It's all real pretty and bright green grass. And I got more pictures of it on the color slides that will show it better. And I don't know what kind of palm trees those are, if they're date palms or what they would be. This is another armless statue there at the ruins. Now this is some kind of a shrine on our way out to the Roman ruins. Everything over there is white, all the buildings, and houses and everything. This is when we were in the back of the old 6x6 taking a picture out over the top of the cab and following a couple of donkeys. Then a big cactus there on the right hand side. And that's just more of the desert along the road. And you don't see very many flowers over there, as dry as it is. And that's more, you can see more of that wall there along the road. Must serve as a fence, I guess. I thought these pictures really kept their color good. They're the same age as some other ones that were all faded. I guess it's just the type of film the person uses. Looks like there might be some kind of crop out there in the field. I can see rows of something they're planted between the bigger trees. Some big dome back there for something. There you can see a lot of water out there. I didn't remember that, but there were sure Roman ruins there. You can see more dry land out behind back there. It looks like a little village way out there, and some buildings way in the background back there. And see another well over here way on the left side, where they dip down and get the water out. This was one of the churches on the way out. There's a little hut back there in behind that center tree there. Looked like those ones along the road there earlier. Another little wall there with cactus coming up out of the top of it. On the way out, they stopped and picked up one of the Libyan. He was a soldier, and I got a better picture later on him. Give him a ride, and he was dressed in his uniform. This is the same tree that I had a picture of in black and white that were walking away from us as we pulled in there to the ruins. Now they're getting more modern. They got a very old windmill out there like we got, pumping water. Looks like they're raising one of their crops there in all those trees. That's just a closer look at those trees and the cactus. That must be all irrigated there, the way there's something green showing up. It's pretty rare over there. And these ruins here are along the Mediterranean. It's pretty out there in the blue water. And there's some good sized stones, and you wonder how they could get them all sawed so square and laid in there just as neat as can be. I think that's that headless woman I had a while earlier. Yeah, there's I had a picture of that statue there in black and white earlier. It was neat looking stones all cut real square and sharp. And this is some of the ruins that are still standing there by the amphitheater. Way down at the bottom you can see little statues carved in there under the stage. And, pretty big place. And this is an area that they've all redone and landscaped and fixed up. Theater. Now you can see the stage better and the seats, and it's in pretty nice condition. And all the little figures down at the bottom underneath the stage there. And even the seating area is real nice. That's that amphitheater in the background back there, who's going up to it. It's pretty poor country there. That's just a little sand road there. That's just more of the ruins there. That's marble on the floor, that all full of designs there in that better looking building there. I had a black and white picture just like that of me. I don't know how I got black and white and color at the same time. I don't remember having two cameras, but I must have. This is a pretty neat little area here. This is in that part that they remodeled. And they're fixing it up real nice. Even got water spurting out of that fountain. That was a big area out there. A lot of, I don't know how many acres that did cover, but there's a lot of ruins there. That must have been quite a thing in this day when it was all going full blast. Yeah, that's another area of that restroom I was telling you about. It was only a
couple months ago I seen on the Travel Channel where they showed the same thing on the early Roman pictures. The one thing about them old toilet seats out there in the desert, it wouldn't be very cold. You wouldn't have to worry about a cold seat to sit on. It's just more of that amphitheater here. I think time I get done with these pictures, you'll have an idea what that spot looked like. I've got enough of them. Now there's that little train track going around there on a curve. That's where they said they haul their stone back and forth when they're redoing the ruins. They've always got their camel and their donkey. They do a lot of walking over there. They just seemed like they were strung out the whole route we was on. That's a pretty neat little archway they had going in under those ruins. You can see the stone, the smaller stone they used on the walls there. And there they're just heading out across the barren ground out there. They must live out in the back there somewhere. I see trees way back there in the background, so at least there's something living out there. You know, they got a little nicer color on their clothing here. They're kind of pretty purple. And got the old camel loaded down pretty heavy. They use them a lot over there, I guess. About the only thing to stand that old dry, hot place. Now we're off the desert and back. This was on the way going down there. Me and another guy rode in the back end. And, we had 2 tugs in there and some carriers for hold the back aft section of the airplane. And it was full with, and we just went up and took a picture up there with the cockpit. We had left Bergstrom, and that plane had to make 3 runs before we got off the runway. They said that we could get off if we wanted to, and he'd go part way down the runway, and she didn't have no power, and he'd shut her down, and we'd just get her stopped good at the end of the runway, and did that another time. Then the 3rd time it took off. It run all right going down. There he was doing his pattern to come in at land there at Wheelers Field, and he was banked heavy to the left, and I got a picture of the little houses along there. That's another one I took before we landed. You can see the engine there at the left. It was just about dark. Yeah, this is a colored picture of the barracks, little tents that we stayed in while we was down there. They weren't very elaborate. We'd roll the sides up on them at night, and little air moved through. Yeah, that's another picture of where we chow hall was. Just another shot up there on the cockpit. These are the planes we worked on down there. Our squadron had the yellow markings, and another one was red, and the other one was blue. It was all F-86s. That's just a shot. It was on base there. I think it's a building about like the chow hall there in the background, but I don't know what it really was. On the way down, we had to stop and refuel at Marseille, France. And that's just a review. There's fuel trucks back there in the background. But we never got to We just had to stay there by the plane. We couldn't go nowhere. They was only there a couple hours. And we was off again. That's the Mediterranean, and we went swimming in it there one day. It was real nice. It's salt water. Got the prettiest colors, and then the caps are breaking there. It makes a nice picture. This is back out to them Roman ruins. That is all getting fixed up. There's an old army truck back there in the background, but that don't look like the one we was. They don't look like it's big enough for the one we was on. Here we are. We're just taking an engine out. Use that A-frame hoist, and it's got wheels on her, and just back it back out of there. I think that's me there by the wing. We didn't have no hanger down there to work on. Everything was right out in the old hot sun. The old aluminum skin on them planes, you had to be careful to get burnt on it. We didn't work on the engine ourselves. We'd take them out and put them in, but they'd go over to an engine crew. And they just specialized in engines. And we had a little theater there on the base. We could go down in the evening and watch a movie. Everything was free there. The seats were kind of hard. They were just in cement blocks. But it was still fun to get down there, and it'd be cool down there at night. Just more than Mediterranean. Well, I'm all done with Tripoli. Now we're back in Germany. And it's just mainly a picture of a cow and somebody herding it there. And you can see the shocks oats back there in the background. It's real neat there with all the green corn behind that. They raise about the same crops as we do. They raise quite a few sugar beets up there at Bitburg. It's so rainy up there. This is a kid I've run around with quite a bit. We went to Paris together, and he lived out here in Nebraska. His dad was a welder out there for irrigation. It's just a little street scene in one of the little towns right around there. There is a border gate there, though. I don't remember that. But evidently, we didn't go on the other side of that. Where they're loading oat shocks onto a wagon. On Sundays you could sign up at the USO Club and get a free bus ride around the countryside and take pictures. And I did that pretty often. That's a pretty valley there. You see cattle down there in the bottom with the creek running. And these are all within probably 40 miles of my air base there. Looks like a castle way back there on the hill up there. I don't know. These are just street scenes in the little town there. They got streetcar tracks. You see the electric wires running overhead. Well, the streetcar is clear down there at the end of the street. I see that. Volkswagen, looks like maybe. You can see how they dressed back then. They were pretty much like we did. Yeah, there's some pretty colors of greens there. They just farm every little nook and cranny they can get in. Land's pretty valuable there. Yeah, I like that picture there. You can see the old Banny chicken on top of the manure pile. They piled the manure right there by their house. Now that could be the house on the right-hand side and the barn here on the left, right there, and they're hooked together. And that little wagon is like the one where I was sitting on that little tractor and pulling a wagon like that, wooden wheel wagon. Well, that's another backyard scene. Looks like a little thrash machine there on the left, and the barn right there, and then you can see how close the house is to the barn. They actually hook together. Then they can do their chores and not go outside. It gets pretty deep snow there in the winter. These all stone barns. You can see the big stones in them. They got a lot of shocks or something there, but I can't figure out what that one is. They don't look like corn. You can see how they form the side hills way up there. That's pretty right there at sunset with hitting that house and the little horse out there eating. There you can see the shadow of the bus eyes on it. It's just they're like a school bus, same or they're army colored. That's a nice big field, and I know that's quite a ways from our base because it was kind of in a pretty high elevation where I was at. With no fields, nothing like that. About looks like it could be about like Iowa. Southern Germany's got it's really got some big fields. This is on top of a hill looking down. I don't think it's the Rhine River. I don't really remember what river that was. We're up pretty high there. You can see the great vineyards here on the side hill. This is probably this place probably makes their own wine and pick their own grapes and make it into wine. Yeah, we just going down the street there, and I just seen the old police dog sitting there. Looks like he's taking care of the place. You can see how the buildings are all made out of that stone. That's a regular house there. He's got his old dog house in there behind. This is just going through a little town, and you can see the little stone streets, the cobble streets, and I like the style of those buildings. They look pretty thin. Board designs on them. You can see the flower boxes there in the windows with flowers in them. And I think it was a Sunday because you can see how they all got there. We generally went out on Sundays and got the ties on, and they're just out spending the day. There you can see some of their old cars. I think that's a Volkswagen here on the left, and the rest of them look like pretty nice cars for back then. That was in '55. Got a lot of nice little window boxes with flowers. This is just an intersection in the little town. And, see, they got a cross there and statues. And that's real common over there to see that right out displayed like that. See, they got a no parking sign here on the right, and no entry over there, and a 30-kilometer speed limit. This was taken out of that C-119 boxcar, flying boxcar, on our way back from Tripoli to Bitburg. You see the little towns down below down there under the clouds. That's another aerial view. Right down there in the left front down here is I see a football stadium there. And then there's a river going through there. I don't know what town that would have been. Now we're back landing again at Tripoli here. I thought Marilyn had all these pictures all sorted right, but I don't think she did a very good job. Yeah, we're back on that airplane again. This is flying over the Mediterranean. That's just an island down there in the Mediterranean down there somewhere. All we got here is a view of the airplane wing here. This is going over down there on the Mediterranean. Another island. And it's just the tail section on that C-119. It had two tails on it. And the big old center part right. All the time we left the back door open on it. You could jump right out if you wanted to. This is our crew. They don't look like they're too much into anything there. That's the ones flying the plane. And we got off the airplane. Now I think we're back in Luxembourg. Looks like the kind of stuff they got there. That's just must be enough feature. But it looks like it's a church. It's got a cross on top of it. Pretty stout built church. Yeah, we got over to Paris on this one. This on the Seine River. Notre Dame Cathedral back in the background. This is in Paris. That big tall monument stands for a war that they fought way back. Thousands were killed, and that was put up there. Now this is a street there in Paris. I like that old truck. It's an old hard rubber wheeled, about an old 1900 truck. That looks like the back end of that same church that we had to hear a few slides ago. You see all the statues there carved in on the gable up there. This is the front view of Notre Dame Church. You can see some foreign soldiers there in the front way here. I guess everybody knows what that is. They had a fire in that when I was there, and we could only get to the first level. I was just right above the trees there. I think this is down at the street level of that Notre Dame church. It just shows you how big them buildings are over there. A lot of statues. Now that's a good view of what the side streets look like. I got over there on a 3-day pass, and it was during Christmas holiday time. You can see there's no leaves on the trees or nothing, but it wasn't that cold. Just a lot of big old stone buildings. I think that's that Julius or Napoleon. That's Napoleon's tomb with that gold top on it there in Paris. Those taxi cabs is like that one with the red and the black, and some were just plain black. They all had that style, like an old square. That building on the left was the hotel where we stayed at. We stayed there one night. That's a nice street scene. You can see all the different kinds of cars they had. That's front of Notre Dame church. That's the front of Notre Dame from a further view away. There's a water fountain and a statue out in the middle. And a little circle drive around. And a lot of artwork and statues and things over there. This is where I was looking out of the hotel window, and I put the camera on the timer, and it didn't work just the best, but you can see how where the tail lights are going. And I think I got a better one of that. Now I did a better job on this one. The camera's supposed to move real slow, and you can just tell where all the tail lights have been, and the route they took. That was pretty at night over there, all the lights. And didn't see many Christmas lights though. That's a regular old taxi cab there. And here we're back on that Sunday drive where we was looking at the vineyards. And now this is the Rhine River here, and you can see the grapes are all growed up on the sides of the hillsides there, that light colored. This is back in Paris again. Looks like the Eiffel Tower way back there. Just a big monument for something. This is that Louvre Art Museum where the Mona Lisa is in. And another hundreds and hundreds of paintings. That's kind of got a mall like the Washington D.C. has there in front of the Eiffel Tower. This is a French military barracks here. You can see there's soldiers standing down there at the door. And this is that Siegfried line that the French built to stop the German tanks. They made all those little pyramids there so the tank goes across, he'll get hung up. They start out shorter on the other side, and as it gets over this way, they get taller and taller, so the tank can't cross it. But I guess it was a failure. They just plowed right on through it when they got ready to go through. Now this is looking at the short side of them from the opposite side. Then this side over here was the German side, and inside is French. And you can see where they figured they had it all figured out there, but it didn't work. Here's a nice flower garden. I think it's in Luxembourg here. Big heavy buildings. This is more of the Rhine River and the grapes on the sides. Took a boat tour down the Rhine once over there. Well, we're back in the airplane hangar now. This is an engine sitting on a dolly that has been pulled out. Yeah, we're on our air base now over Bitburg. That's our little theater there. We could get in there for 25 cents. I went to a lot of movies. Got pretty late run. They got late run movies too, up to date ones. This is leaving the barracks where I stayed, and on the way up towards the hangar, you can just see the corner of the hangar. That's where I worked. Did 90% of the work in there. Then we'd get done with the plane, we'd take it out and run it up and check it out. This is inside the day room, that little recreation room down in the bottom of the barracks, and had a pool table in there. And spent some time in there. That's just a building on base there where, I think that was where the commissary was, where married couples have to go buy groceries, and that lived on base there. These are our barracks over there. They were real nice. And the summers were cool enough that never had to worry about air conditioning or nothing. Yeah, they even had a rod and gun club there. About the next building up is where you could take your clothes and they'd clean them and press them and get haircuts there in that building. That was the church there on base. They held all three denominations there, all in the same church. They just took turns, different times, having everybody. This is me in front of the barracks there. I had to try out wearing a mustache, and I don't think that lasted too many months. I think this is our chow hall here. There's the pearl there at work. That was our squadron. Was the 53rd Fighter Day Squadron. We had a tagger for a mascot emblem. Each squadron had their own little colors and their emblems. Now this is off base. This is around Bitburg there, and I always liked this picture. It got the old chickens down there, and the bottom of the sheep. Right out here, no fence or nothing. I think it's tethered though, tied up, but they used everything. They never had the fields pretty near run right out to the road, and wasn't very big road ditches. And that's just local scenery around a few miles of our base. Now this was what I was telling you on. Now there's a bunker right where I'm standing that the Germans had would hide out in, and they'd point their guns, and they'd get a hairpin curve like that. And if they didn't get you coming around on this side as you was leaving, they had another crack at you. And they did that real often over there. And that's kind of how the roads run too, is that crooked. That's real hilly terrain there. They're just little narrow blacktop roads. Well, this is one of those bunkers you can see down here at the bottom where they'd stick their guns out through that square hole. And then there were real sharp edges there, so the bullets wouldn't ricochet if somebody was shooting in at them. It would stop. It'd be a sharp right angle hit there. We went down inside of it. I think it showed where it's blowed up worse on the other side than it does on this one. Out in there looks like they could still use that one. Around our area there, they had real small fields. You can see a little different, little patches here and there, and very little was wasted. This is the bridge around Luxembourg there, in the country of Luxembourg. A pretty one. Went in that bunker and picked up some ammunition, and I don't know how smart that was, but there's two big shells laying there, rockets laying on that stone there, and I'm carrying one. I don't think I'd do that nowadays. I think that could have blown up. There you can see the top up there. I think that's where they blowed up part of it. They just heaved up the roof clear up. Yeah, of all the pictures I've ever taken, I think this is my favorite. It's got the cat there and the turkey and the Annie Rooster and the little girl with her buggy and some kind of little implement there, and that we were just going down the road there and off to the right here. And I always liked that. Pretty steep old bank up the hill there. That's about just the same as that other picture. Yeah, there was a lot of those bunkers around our area there, and we went into several of them. This one here, I think, is over in I believe in Luxembourg. Yeah, they're at Bitburg where I was stationed. That's where Ronald Reagan went over a few years ago and visited one of the cemetery there at Bitburg. They had all those old German SS troops buried, and boy, the people didn't take very good to that. Especially the guys that were in the war over there. And I never did see that cemetery, but it was right there in that little town. And I seen it on TV when they were showing it. This just an old guy here herding his cows. He has a dog with him. And there's an old castle up on top of the hill. And I don't know if I don't think this one is a castle here. I was in one castle that had the little red umbrella, so I don't know if this is the one. There's a good view of the grape vineyards that they have on those hillsides. See the little town back there in the background. They were harvesting grapes that day when I was there. Yeah, the grapes, they grew pretty tall. Big tall stakes. I don't know how they must have drove them in that old rocky ground. But we just had the whole miles and miles and miles of hillsides all along the Rhine with grapes. It's a pretty good old castle there. They, some of them are busted up more than that. They're just always on the high ground, always up this overlooking the river. The hillsides are all grapes. I don't know, I don't think them are grape. I think that might be corn on that higher, because it seems like the grapes aren't that dark in color way back there. I think the houses all got a little slate, that slate roof, slate for the roofing. They must have made a lot of wine over there, because they sure like their vineyards. Here I'm up on top of a hill, looking right on down into a little village. And you can see a hairpin curve down there that how steep them side hills where they go down and turn. This is kind of a typical little street in small little towns. Another view of that castle up there. Yeah, now this is in a castle. Where I'm at, I'm looking out a window and you can see where I was telling you there was a red tablecloths up there down there. That's a little patio down there where they've got refreshments, and you can see how steep that old hillside is going down to where the houses are. I don't know how them people climb them old hills all day and picking grapes, and it had to be in good condition. You know, this is another view in that castle, looking pretty well straight down into where people are gathered down there. You can see how thick the walls were on that. You know, this is a scene back in Luxembourg. We've got some motorcycles there on the right. Somebody on a bicycle coming up the street here. This is a little military vehicle here, and this one's in Luxembourg. This is right in our little town of Bitburg. It's an implement dealer, and And those are those Deutz tractors that they ship over here. You got a whole variety of equipment there. This is in Bitburg again. You got road signs there telling where direction to different towns: Cologne, Bonn, Dusseldorf, and Wittlich. You can see the Bitburg sign up there on the right of the building up there. Then red letters start out with Bitburg. It's just a little street view of the town there in Bitburg. It wasn't much bigger than I'd say the town of West Liberty. This is a little tractor here that they got so much ice over there in the wintertime that it's got extra set of wheels on it on the outside here that when it's slick they unfold them steel wheels. You can see how shiny they are there around the hub, and then the tractor runs on them steel wheels when it's slick and for added attraction. I don't know what kind of tractor that is, but it's got a flywheel about like them old time John Deere's used to have. This house here, you can see where there's been bullet shells have hit the side of the house, and they haven't repaired them. And most of the time over there, you see a lot of pock marks around the windows and doorways where they would shoot at them and try to shoot through the windows. And a lot of them have repaired them or just put plaster over top of them or stucco stuff. This was in Bitburg. This is a little bright colored little tractor. There's one across the street over there too that was going up the street there in town. I don't know what kind of implement he's pulling, but probably came out of that implement lot we've seen there earlier. Just another street scene. Shows you how old the towns are. And this is a different implement lot. These are blue tractors with red wheels, and look like a little mower conditioner back there, that red one. This is still in Bitburg. Everything was small there, even that'd be a typical size of an implement dealer, just a few pieces. This is a typical little road scene. It was going from Bitburg down to Trier, and we were up on a high altitude, and we go kind of downhill all the way to Trier, but you can see how close the trees are planted to the road, and wintertime they're always hitting them trees and different markers. There's a lot of them still using horses when I was over there. There's got a dump rake raking hay. One old horse on a dump rake. That's just a little house out in the country with, I don't know if that's two houses or just a barnyard scene there. See some bicycles parked out there in the middle. These are haystacks that they put up by hand. They just put a stake in the ground and then put hay over it and start pile on with the pitchfork. They go out and just gather it up, and that was their way of drying it. A lot of little different kinds of crops there in just a few acres. You can see 6 or 8 or 10 different little plots that can't be over about a 6-acre field there. Now this is one of those one-way plows I was telling you about that Oxen was pulling earlier, and now he's got 3 horses on this one, and they'll go across the field and plow with the one that's down, and then when they come back, they'll turn around and hook onto the front end of the other one and plow, and that way they don't leave a dead fur or no headlands. And that's pretty neat little deal there. Taking 2 of them to operate it. I don't know, if this crop here was all laid flat, it looks like a crop of oats or something, but it's all, must have been a high wind or something. It looked like part of it's all blown down. And that's just a tractor there in the background, but it looks like he's got a plow behind it. It's not in the ground. I don't see where he's been plowing, but that's what it seems to be. He got shocks of hay out there too that they've shocked up. This is on the way down to Trier, and you can see how now these people are just out walking on a Sunday, and it's nothing to see them just out in the countryside, a family going on a stroll on the afternoon. That's a high wall there around on a mountain curve there. That's the view of Trier down there, laying down at the bottom of the valley there. That's just a view across the town over to the hill. There's some kind of a monument over there. Here they're loading oat bundles onto a wagon. The team of horses pulling it. They're quite a few years back behind where we were then. They got a pretty big crew. Nine people there, I count. One of them not working. He just got his hands behind his back. That must be the old granddaddy. Just some bright red flowers that I've seen on I don't know if that's a rose bush, I suppose. Now this is over in Luxembourg again. It was a pretty nice little pond there with flowers all around and a little park-like. And then they're reconstructing that big building. They got scaffolding all over the end of it. Luxembourg had a lot of these parks. Walks around where you could walk around and look at the stuff. This was a different type of little garden they had there. They were real neat. You could walk here where this reddish color is, but the rest was all manicured greenery and flowers in among it. This is really a pretty bunch of different colors of flowers around the same area there. Yeah, it was really an enjoyable place to just mosey around and look at all the pretty flowers and little ponds and shrubbery all trimmed, and they really took pride in their grounds over there. You never seen any trash or never seen anything out of order over there. They didn't throw their papers down and their McDonald cups and all that all over like they do here. Yeah, they got statues all around on every one of these little pillars all around the garden too. That it really was nice to visit. Now there you can see the water spurting out of the little pond they got there. They got about a dozen little fountains that go up about 6 foot. Of course, everything's so nice and green. They get a lot of rain there. Just not real heavy rain. It'd just be a drizzle, just a heavy drizzle, and they went ahead and put the crops in right through. It just was wet in the spring all the time. They didn't work in the drizzle and work the ground wet. They never would have got it planted. Well, they had more than just one of those flower gardens around. You'd go little different places through the city, and they would have a block or two that would be open, that would be all manicured and planted in flowers. Now this one's down in Trier, and that's Roman ruins there. They got an amphitheater. I got more pictures of it. Julie got down there about 4 years ago at Trier and visited the same place. And we was about 12 miles from there this summer, but we had no way of getting back to Bitburg or Trier. On a bus tour, you go where the bus goes, and that's the way that works. This is more of the Roman ruins. They're a different type of ruins that they had down there in Libya. Down here in front, that opening is a tunnel that goes down in under, and that's all undermined under that. This is a part of the amphitheater, and that's all undermined underneath the floor where they kept animals down there. This is just more looking down on some of the things that are left there. Get a pretty good view of some buildings back here in the background. They all kind of look alike, the same type of roof and pitch and style. Now this is in an amphitheater where the bleachers are, and you can see the steps there where you go up and down, and there's not much evidence of where the seats were, but that's a whole half moon that comes around, and the amphitheater stage is down to the left. Now, I was saying that at the bottom of the big arena, that it was undermined down there, and now this is down under the ground, and then you can see the skylights here where the sun's shining through that, and up above that is the grass. And the story is that this is one of the places that they kept lions and slaves and stuff, and they would kept the animals and them down here, and then the big deal was go up there and sit in the grandstand, and then they'd put a slave and a tiger or lion in, and see who would survive. And of course the old cat, the old lion, or that was sure to win, and that was their enjoyment. But it had regular pins down there. You could see where they had them locked in. It's a big area down here. I suppose it'd be a half acre in size. And that's the entrance where you came into here, and on the left and on the right is the bleachers up there. And then you can see where they got a wall behind that park bench is where the wall would be. Then the animals would be left into the center part here, and you see them little white spots there on the ground. That's where them little skylights. So it's where the sun was shining down through and into below there, where they kept the animals. And then this is the opposite end of where I showed you inside the amphitheater. Now this is from the outside. If I was walking and going in that way, why, you'd be walking into the arena. And there you can see the high walls were inside there so the animals couldn't get to the crowd. And that's quite a deal. Now this is a good view of the wall they had built around inside, so the people sitting up above wouldn't get head up where the lions and tigers couldn't get out of there and get up into the bleachers. This is just another view of the back part of the amphitheater. This is just some more of the ruins that are left standing. It seems like these ruins are much older than the ones down in Africa. But I think if it was all built during old Caesar's time, they'd all be about the same. But these deteriorated, the stone deteriorated a lot faster. This is down inside of one of those tunnels and looking out. While earlier you had a view looking from up above, looking down into a tunnel. This is, I think, that same one. This is just down inside, looking out a different entrance. It's just a better view of that wall that run around in ruins in there. Yeah, this amphitheater, this was in Trier, and that was just, as I said earlier, about 12-15 miles from Bitburg. And some of it's still in pretty nice shape. There wasn't no entry fee. You could just walk in and out as you please. There wasn't no charge to seeing anything. And I had some hair then. That looked a little different. This is some more of a Marilyn's work. She got us back over to Paris and the Notre Dame again. So you never know what you're going to see next. You know, the only job Marilyn had to do was to sort those pictures, and you can see how that all went. This is back by Bitburg again, just a little street scene. You can see the hood of the car there was riding in. That's old Lloyd Sell. He's by another one of those statues or crosses there. And he's the one that's out from Nebraska. I went out and got a load of cattle out in Nebraska a few years later and stopped and seen him out at Omaha. And I haven't heard from him since. And there's a pretty nice, well-kept up castle. That's on the Rhine. And it's about as nice a shape as you'll see one in. This is a kid in the squadron. That's the old car I was riding around in. I got the picture of the hood. And he was taking me around there on a Sunday. There's a good view of the houses and river and another town on the other side over there. bridge going across. This is the same kid that had the little Ford car there that hauled us around. That's just another one of the many crosses they had all over the countryside, and they were every few miles you'd see a little statue of some kind. Well, I guess by now you know who to blame on this one here that got put in sideways. So have to have a talk with her later. You pay good money for try to get good help, and you can kind of see what a person gets. There's the grapes up on this side hill again that we're looking down on a little town. There's a lot of city here on both sides of the river. Towns are pretty close together along these rivers. This is there in Bitburg again. That's a combine parked in under the roof there. And this is their old barn right here alongside. There's that castle I had a picture of a while ago from a different angle, and it's in pretty nice condition. You are Yeah, this is the hood of that little car that we've been riding in, that little Ford. Just a street scene, and shows how the people dress and look. And I hope this guy in front here moved over a little bit, because he looks like he might get sideswiped a little bit there. Just another view of the little cars and how things looked over there. This old guy, he was just taking his old sheep right down through the town. You can see a sign on the right there. It says, it has an arrow there to Luxembourg. And them sheep there still got the long tail on them. He's got a handkerchief around his neck and a big old long cane there. Didn't seem to bother him that he was right out in the middle of the traffic. guess you can tell by now that it don't take anything real special for me to be taking a picture. Anything that moved or looked a little different, I was going at it. They're just on their little Sunday stroll, you'll see them right out a mile or two from town, from Bitburg. They're out going, all dressed up, in their Sunday clothes, and they must just take off and go for a little stroll. And here you can see those mirrors up there in the corner of the building, and the intersections come out so close to the street that you can't get, if you get the nose of the car out there far enough to see what's coming, why, you get it bumped off. So you look up in those mirrors and see if it's clear, then you ease out. In that left mirror you can see a car coming down there now that is getting close to the intersection. There's a castle up on top of the hill up there. It's quite a ways away. And there's a nice carousel. It was operating. You see the kids on there. This is over towards Luxembourg. I think that's the only one I've ever seen over there. Remember the ones up there at House on the Rock, they went over to Europe and took one of those apart and hauled it back up here to Wisconsin and put it back together again. But it doesn't look like this one quite. Well, I guess by now you know what happened to this one. You know who I got to talk to. So, but I got it in that round thing and I can't take it out and turn the picture where it should be. Just a street scene. I always enjoy looking at how the traffic and the streets are and the buildings. I guess by now you can tell that. Here they're just getting out of church. I kind of think it was a wedding, the way they were gathered around and not dispersing. This is another view of them when we drove on by. They all got their ties, and you can tell that, well, that's a church right there. Yeah, there's a wedding ceremony there. You can see the priest or the preacher and the flower girls and that walking behind. They're heading out, probably to go over to the church. I always talk about I go here on Sundays, but I really went to that church a lot there on Bitburg. I knew all about that one. Then after church I'd go out. Hardly ever missed a Sunday. This is in Luxembourg, and this is a different flower garden that we'd seen earlier. A different building. I believe these are sugar beets here in front. And there's a couple other people up there walking. They use those sugar beets as cattle feed and use that for roughage. This is just a trolley car going here. Another one coming up behind it up back there. This is some oats. The shock back there, and I'm taking this out of the bus, and you can see where the reflections of the bus windows. There, and up there on the hillside, that's that little top window in the bus. This is just a small little river and a hillside up there. No grapes up there. Mostly this is a picture of a bridge. You can see a couple of trolley cars going across top of it. Nice wooded area there. Some kind of little yellow flowers growing here along the sidewalk. Everything always is so pretty over there. You just couldn't hardly help taking a picture of stuff. This is a bunch of loaded bung wagons with oats, and off to the left there is a thrash machine and a pile of straw there that they're blowing it up on. Looks like about 3 bung wagons or 4 loaded with bundles. And this blur right down here is some people that were walking along the road. This is mostly just a picture of that big stone bridge going across the valley up there. We're crossing one now, and then I'm just taking a picture of the other one up the line there. The houses, they're all stone. That's one of the reasons everything lasts so long over there, is that they, instead of building with wood, they built with that stone. And of course, they're all several hundred years old, them houses. Now, those are French flags there. I see a red light, stop light there. I think this is in Luxembourg. And this is just a picture of that odd-looking little vehicle there across the street. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It looks like, I don't think it's a camper. It's just a weird-looking little design. That's a nice big field of shocked oats. You hardly ever see one that big. I think it was just time here to take another picture, and I just snapped it. Nothing in particular there. There's a nice view of the bridge. Got a bus going across it. A road down underneath down there. There's a pretty picture with the flowers here in the front and the church steeple in the back and the hillside back there. That's a good view of the countryside and the field way up on top of the hill up there. That's a policeman there in town and an old codger there visiting with him. Got some nice flowers there in the window. I see a lady looking out the window there. They're giving us a look over.